What's up everybody, hope all is well. Overwatch 2 PvE, what's the deal, right? Revealed almost 3 years ago now, BlizzCon complete with a playable demo even, but since then via dev updates and other events we've seen it go from being the core identity of Overwatch 2 to apparently now just seasonal content? At face value that seems like a pretty big step back. How'd this happen and how should we interpret it? Let's take a walk through time and see. It's November 2019 and thousands have flocked to Anaheim, California for the annual BlizzCon event. Overwatch 2 was announced at the opening ceremonies with a grand cinematic, a gameplay trailer, and presentation by Jeff Kaplan. They talked about the story missions, hero missions, talents, and more. Just 1.5 minutes of the 20-minute presentation was about player versus player. The message was loud and clear. Overwatch 2 is coming, and it's all about PvE. This was apparently what Jeff wanted from day one, before it was PvP even. Last year, Overwatch producer Tracy Kennedy revealed, and I quote, Kaplan had a vision of an Overwatch game with PvE in it from before the original game launched. He wanted Overwatch 2 to be a sequel to get non-PvP players to consider trying the game out. Executive leadership, however, disagreed and basically instructed the sequel to put more of an emphasis on PvP. 15 months pass, it's February 2021 and BlizzCon is now an online event. We're treated to a behind the scenes video hosted by several members of the team. This time, 10 minutes is spent talking about PvP, 24 minutes is spent talking about PvE. The balance is shifting, but PvE still seems to be the focal point of Overwatch 2. Talking points about it are more in-depth and focused on the finer things. Combined with what was shown, you really felt like it was close at this point. 2 months pass, it's April 2021 and Jeff Kaplan leaves the company. No reason provided. 8 months pass, it's January 18th, 2022 and Microsoft officially acquires Activision Blizzard. The community seemed to have received this well. After a 2-year content drought and delay after delay, there was finally a ray of light. But this was a big change that would certainly have some kind of impact on the future of Overwatch. 2 months pass, it's March 2022, Aaron Keller is now in charge. He posts a brief developer update and in it we learn for the first time PvE is being decoupled from PvP. The latter will launch first with PvE coming at a later date. He explains that they've taken some time to rethink Overwatch 2 to make sure it's a quote-unquote living game red live service. 3 months pass, it's June 2022 and we get the official Overwatch 2 reveal event. It's focused primarily on PvP, rightly so, but Blizzard takes a moment to tell us PvE will now be released as seasonal content. They were tight-lipped on the subject beyond that. On the same day, GameSpot publishes an interview with Aaron. In it, he claims PvE will still be a full linear AAA campaign. Through all these events, you can see PvE slowly but surely being walked back. Now, to be fair, part of this is the natural course of things. With PvP coming first, it's reasonable to assume it would take on a more prominent role in the marketing, but that doesn't tell the whole story. There was a rumor floating around back in April saying Jeff Kaplan never envisioned Overwatch to be a live service game. He had more of an old school approach to development where you delay a game until it's perfect and complete and then release it. Again, true or not, who knows, and it's not necessarily even a bad thing. In fact, I think many would say that it's a good thing, a sorely lacking quality in today's industry. Regardless, you can see how that would clash with Activision Blizzard's relentless push to make everything a live service, and you can see how that would clash with the sensibilities of some modern gamers who have come to expect all shooters be live services. Whether or not this is why Jeff left, we'll never know, but I'm inclined to think at absolute least it factors into the decision, perhaps even getting so bad as to essentially force him into early retirement. Did the Microsoft acquisition have anything to do with the change? I personally don't think so. Activision didn't need a push from anyone to monetize the F out of everything they own, but even if Microsoft didn't actively ask Overwatch 2 be a live service, knowing they're cool with it was really all that matters. At that point in time for Microsoft, earlier rumors of an attempt to get Bungie back and the Destiny franchise had failed, and they saw the Halo Infinite live service was struggling, so there's a sizable hole in their portfolio oriented towards live service AAA shooters. So again, while I doubt Microsoft directed the change, it's easy to see how they'd be fine with it. So the story I'm telling myself is executive leadership probably planned to make Overwatch 2 a live service from the start, but Jeff, being game director and a longtime superstar dev, just had the political clout and backing to push ahead creating it as more of a boxed game. Business being business, the executives won out eventually, Jeff left and Aaron took over to usher in the live service. There are additional complicating factors here like Blizzard market share and MAU slipping, legal troubles, and while it's rumored the Microsoft acquisition happened very quickly, a savvy executive would have a buyout on the radar for some time, and in the interest of that, I can see good old Bobby K forcing a live service purely to generate revenue and buzz and maybe help raise the share price some in anticipation of a sale. At absolute least, a big financial win would protect his own job from all the corporate drama. So here we are, PvE is seasonal content now. What do we make of that? In terms of the actual scope, according to Aaron, nothing's changed. It's still being billed as a full AAA linear campaign, but I'm having a real hard time reconciling those two concepts. Releasing bits and pieces on a seasonal cadence does not equate to a full AAA campaign, in my opinion. Perhaps the fault is mine. I was thinking it was going to be a big, robust experience. You could play night after night for hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours, essentially a first-person WoW, but that's just not the case. Instead, it appears they're going for something similar to the Destiny live service model, a heavily segmented and monetized game. Destiny has a base game, expansions, and a seasonal battle pass. The base game is basically the story, expansions give you new content, story arcs, raids, and dungeons, and the battle pass just has gear and cosmetic rewards. And this is where we really need to pay attention to Aaron's language. His exact words were the PvE content would be released seasonally, not necessarily tied to the battle pass, though I assume that's the case, so I think they'll release a sizable, essentially complete storyline initially as the quote-unquote base game. Future expansions will be sold as standalone boxed items and rewards via the battle pass. What really reinforces this for me is just Blizzard's greed. The thing players hate most about Destiny is the obfuscation. Just Google, what do I need to start playing Destiny and enjoy the laughs? Bungie has everything, even old content locked behind individual expansions. Recently they changed this some by adding in a few really old expansions to the base game, but for the most part this still holds true. So if there's an old raid or dungeon you and your friends want to run, guess what? You all have to buy the old expansion. And after you bought it, there's a chance Bungie will just take it away, something they call vaulting content. Put yourself in their shoes. They get your money, and when it gets too expensive to maintain, they just take it away, possibly reselling or reusing its assets, and future expansions you'll have to buy again. I don't know what it's going to turn out to be, but I'm worried. Regardless, we don't want bite-sized content metered out in minimal doses with extended pauses in between, only to have completing that content time-gated. That's sort of where I am with Destiny. While the content is typically good, there's rarely enough to make it a full-time game. At least for me, I get the expansions, complete the story in a few short hours, then log in a few hours a week to run the time-gated raids, eventually getting geared up after a month or so, then I'm done with it for a year. So, final thoughts. I'm trying to stay positive, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit the change to making PvE seasonal content is disconcerting and a little disappointing. I'm not convinced it'll feel like a full game. And in fact, when a game I enjoy starts parsing out content like this, it actually puts me off from playing it at all. It's like a big tease. You get a taste of what could be, only to have to wait 6 months for more. I sincerely think that for PvE to flourish, it needs to be complete, a full game that people can and want to play exclusively day after day for potentially years on end. Releasing bits and pieces as seasonal content, regardless of how good it is, it'll just be seen as glorified archive missions. Throughout this whole mess, I do want to trust Aaron, but I don't know enough about him or his situation at the company to feel confident he can deliver us a game made for gamers. After all, Jeff didn't. It's starting to look more and more like he's a talented dude, a legit gamer who's just caught in the middle. On one side, he has corporate overlords pressing him to make as much money as possible, product be damned, while on the other side, he has legions of Overwatch fans pressing to make as great a game as possible. At this point, all we can do is wait patiently to hear more. There's some debate around the first 4 battle passes being different, and to me, this is pretty obvious. 36 weeks from October 4th, 2022, the first battle pass is June 13th, 2023. That's my guess for when PvE launches, meaning we probably won't hear anything about it until springtime next year. And with that, I'm done. Appreciate you taking the time. Take care of one another, and I will see you soon.
Behind you! Ah!
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
I saw you on a wanted poster with a cute guy.
Tell me you don't mean Cassidy.
Ew, no! The tall one with the little hat.
Oh, Bob. I'll tell him you said hello.